Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, high representatives of the government and diplomatic corps, dear FIC members. We are proud to present you today the newest 15th in a row White Book edition, a major FIC project which once again provides recommendations for ease of doing business in Serbia. White Book is written through active dialogue between FIC members and promotes their common views and suggestions. Authors of the White Book are employees of FIC member companies who, from their daily experiences, know the implications that the legal framework has on everyday business in Serbia. We express our utmost gratitude to FIC members for their enthusiasm and valuable contribution during all these years. Through this project, the Foreign Investors Council wishes to be a true partner for growth, which offers its knowledge and experience for the common purpose of creating a better, sustainable business environment in Serbia. This is an important year for FIC. We mark the 15 years since our establishment. Having said this, I announce the broadcast of the FIC milestones, actually 15th anniversary presentation.
Foreign Investors Council is a voice of business community. FIC mission is to actively promote sustainable business environment through open dialogue with the authorities and other relevant stakeholders. FIC channels its work, efforts, expertise and ideas within 10 specialized working committees, 4 sectoral and 6 cross-sectoral. To maximize results, FIC developed various forms of dialogue with the government on the highest level, but also on the expert level with the state administration. FIC members, more than 130 companies from all around the globe, over 34 billion of euros of investments, compared to 150 million of euros of investments in 2003, more than 97,500 employees, compared to 3,160 employees in 2003. FIC was founded in 2002 by 14 major foreign investors in Serbia with the support of the OECD Investment Compact SEE. Official foundation meeting was held on July the 15th, 2002. White Book Project was launched in 2003 as a collection of comprehensive recommendations for improving business conditions in Serbia and a transparent platform for dialogue with the authorities. Due to its high quality and relevance, White Book now represents FIC flagship project with significant impact on the legislative changes. FIC engaged in a regulatory guillotine project for abolishing unnecessary regulations in 2009. For the first time in 2010, FIC organized reality check conference aimed at evaluating the progress in pursuing reforms. This high-level event brings together chief executives of FIC member companies and high government officials, with selected group of diplomats as guests. In 2017, FIC starts organizing Dialogue for Change, the event that brings the dialogue between the government and the FIC to a new level. FIC mission was and is to actively promote sustainable business environment through open dialogue with the authorities and other relevant stakeholders. We invite you to work together to make Serbia a better place to do business.
Gathered in the Foreign Investors Council have been contributing to strengthen, first of all, Serbian economy with the investment and enlargement of the business operations, but as well to improving Serbia's business environment by sharing knowledge and expertise. And our members of Foreign Investors Council have a wealth of expertise consolidated in the business. And during this time, FIC dialogue with the government became more constructive, structured, and mature. And we're exploring new ways to grow efficiency of such dialogue. In January this year, on proposal of now President Aleksandar Vučić, joint FIC governmental task force has been formed, aiming to accelerate implementation of White Book recommendation. And we welcome government receptiveness to the feedback of the investors and the willingness to continue this dialogue. And we are very glad that today we have Your Excellency Prime Minister and the government officials participating in the launch of the next edition of White Book. So today we present the latest edition of the White Book. And you will see that overall progress of execution of White Book recommendation accomplished in 2017 is very similar to what has been accomplished in the few previous years. The number of the progress is 33%. But starting with this edition, we introduce another on-top measure which adds transparency and which gives a certain specific score, helping to compare different areas and different recommendations, so we can compare different sectors and different chapters of White Book where we mark a certain progress. So 33%, what does it mean? First of all, it highlights progress. There is a change. 33% progress has been achieved. However, our goal is to target higher, to instigate more action, making Serbia more business-friendly through acceleration of the reforms process. Over the last 3 years, Serbian economy has been steadily progressing. GDP is growing now a few consecutive quarters. Fiscal consolidation ongoing. Employment in the private sector is growing. And all these are positive signs for the new investors. At the same time, we in FIC believe that Serbia can and should target high economic growth, high growth of GDP, because it's well-deserved and well-placed to get it. And there are three main preconditions for growth acceleration. First, Serbia's success and dedication to digitalization and reform of public administration. For sure, this will contribute to growth acceleration. Meanwhile, more progress is expected in the area related to formulation of tax policies and consistent implementation of tax regulation. We do understand that this is a complicated area, but the changes in tax area would be more than welcome by all the business community. And third important element of acceleration is further improvement of Serbian regulatory framework, making it more harmonized with the ones of EU. This will help not only attracting new investors, but it will help to accelerate export from Serbia to European Union. So acceleration of reforms, and for us this means acceleration of growth, are essential for making Serbia more competitive long-term. And FIC reiterates readiness and commitment to be a partner in this growth, to help further improve the business climate and increase Serbia's attractiveness for future investment. And FIC recognizes and respects the new government determination to improve the business climate and continue these reforms. And today we can say that Serbia and Serbian business environment is very different from what it was a decade ago. And what we know in FIC from our 15 years of experience, that working together and continuing the dialogue, sometimes tense, we built a better environment with more competitive business, with functional state, and higher standard of living for every Serbian citizen. With this, I conclude my opening speech and welcome to the stage Her Excellency Prime Minister Ana Brnabić.
Dobar dan svima, dame i gospodo, ako uvek u Srbiji pričam na srpskom iz poštovanja prema našim partnerima u Savetu stranih investitora, a i da pokažem efikasnost vlade, da ne bi gubili vreme u prevodu, danas ću vam se obratiti na engleskom, pa se izvinjavam svim ljudima koji prate ovo na srpskom zbog ovoga, ali stvarno želim da pošaljem jasnu poruku i ogromno poštovanje Savetu stranih investitora i svim stranim investitorima koji su izabrali Srbiju kao destinaciju za svoje dalje poslovne poduhvate. So I will now continue in English. I was thinking what to say today and really not try to repeat myself from all of the speeches I had in the past couple of weeks and couple of months. And I think that all of us can now slowly start to sum up the year behind us, 2017. And in 2017, we had a lot of successes, and I think all of us in the government, but all of the people living and working in Serbia can be satisfied and can be proud. In 2017, we have achieved the best result so far at the World Bank's Doing Business list, 43rd place amongst 190 countries. So now for the third consecutive year, we are improving our position on the World Bank's Doing Business list, and I think it's a real indication of the reforms that all of us have been implementing together. We have also made a progress of 12 places at the Global Competitiveness Index of the World Economic Forum, and certainly also something we should be proud of. But the Global Competitiveness Index shows that Serbia has a long way to go to be even more competitive and to compete with those, with some of the most competitive nations in the world. We were, about 2 weeks ago now, proclaimed by the World Bank as the #1 country in the Southeast Europe regarding the criteria of the implementation of reforms. Again, a very big achievement for all of us, but certainly something that indicates that there is still a long way for us to go. And finally, the other thing that I remembered, and I used to say for the last week that we kind of have won the Triple Crown this year, but there was one additional success that we achieved, and we tend to forget our successes and focus on the negative things. And that is that Serbia is currently ranked first on the Financial Times Greenfield FDI Performance Index. And again, I think that is an indication in 2017, as I said, as we slowly wrap up the year, the indication of all the reforms that the government has initiated 3 and 4 years ago, and that this government is now continuing. So we can be pleased and proud with what we've done. And one other indication that shows that we've done a good job is the fact that in the last 5 years, over 8 billion euros was invested in our country. And first and foremost, I would like to thank all of you here for having the belief in Serbia and for putting your trust in us that the reforms that were initiated, we will follow through, and that we will keep initiating new reforms so we can become one of the most competitive nations in the world. I also want to send you today 2 key messages. One is that we are fully aware that although admittedly, there are a lot of success that we have achieved, we know that there is still a long way to go for Serbia in implementing important reforms. And there I come back to the 3 key pillars that I kind of keep focusing on in my mind when I'm measuring our success and our reforms. The first one is economy, the second one is public administration, and the third one is the rule of law. In terms of economy, that's, as you all know, that is something where we've done the most. We've finally, against all odds, I would say, achieved macroeconomic stability and fiscal consolidation. We now have fiscal discipline, and this government is going to continue with the fiscal discipline in the public sector. We have finally managed to reduce the trajectory of the public debt and basically turn the tables on that. And so we now have decreasing public debt, which is fantastic news. We have inflation within the projected margins. And we have, as the president of FIC said, also steady decrease in the unemployment rate. And that is thanks to the development and the growth of the private sector. Whereas a couple of years ago, we had basically the public sector as the most preferred employer and the public sector which drives the employment in the country. All of the wrong signals. So we've now managed to basically change the trajectory on that as well. So very good indicators, but we really need to keep being modest about this and really keep this under tight control. It's very easy, especially for countries which get back from the cliff of 3 years ago, being 3 months away from the bankruptcy. It's very easy to slip into that again. So we have to keep being modest and keep keep control over this. What do we need to do and what do we need to focus on? First and foremost, by the end of the year, we need to live up to the expectations and promise given that because the investors have agreed with the unions that the minimum wage will be increased by 10% from 130 to 143 dinars, that the government will do whatever we can to basically make this, to relieve this additional cost on your business. And what we are doing now is we are analyzing how we can, to what extent we can increase the tax-free income so that that's easier for you. And it's also a positive signal for all of the private sector in Serbia is that we are thinking carefully about how to decrease the tax burden on all of you. But also, again, being very conservative still, so not to endanger the fiscal stability that we have achieved. And hopefully by the end of November, we will basically announce to what extent the tax-free income will be increased. Today it's 11,790 dinars, I think. And we will do the best we can, but also being conservative. And then we have to focus, continue our focus on the shadow economy, the gray economy. The shadow economy is important, again, as a signal that we as the government appreciate all of you, investors, business people, SMEs, who are basically abiding by all of the laws and regulations in Serbia, so that we can enable you to compete in a fair market, free and fair market. And in that respect, I have a couple of good news. First one is that by the end of the year, we will adopt the program for the reform of the tax administration. And there we will diversify, we will set apart the core business of the tax administration and non-core business of the tax administration. And we will slowly start basically diversifying the non-core business of the tax administration, and we will keep returning the non-core business to those institutions and the government which should be doing that, and the tax administration should only be focusing on their core business, so that other business of tax administration, such as, for example, VAT refund, can be done more efficiently. So we will adopt the plan for the reform of the tax administration by the end of the year, and 2018 will be all about implementing that plan. Then we will continue working on strengthening the inspections, and I can proudly finally announce that we have signed the contract for the IT platform for the inspection supervision, so-called e-inspector, which within the platform we will also have the risk analysis software. Again, the problem with the public procurement, something that has been now going on for 11 months, but the work has been done, the contract has been signed, and we are now going into the implementation. This will continue contributing to the more transparent inspections, to better coordination of the inspections, and the risk analysis, which will enable us to do more with the resources that we have. And the third point, key in the shadow economy, cashless payments. Again, something that's part of the bigger digitalization effort, but we really need to start having more cashless economy in Serbia. So that's about the shadow economy. Then obviously there is this whole predictability of business environment in Serbia, and I know, and I'm glad to report that the Ministry of Finance is diligently working on the draft law, finally, of the parafiscal charges, which will enable all of us to really grab the control over the parafiscal charges. And it means as much to the government, if I'm to be very honest, as to the business community in Serbia. And I'm looking forward for a wide public debate, public hearing on this draft law so we can get it right the first time. Then there is the efficiency of public administration. That's that second pillar. In terms of the efficiency of the public administration, as of 2014, as you know, there we've also started and implemented important reforms. First and foremost, obviously, we've cut back on the public spending due to the restructuring of the public administration. And secondly, we've introduced standards which today guide our employment policy in the public sector. Today, we know what's the optimum number of employees in the local government. Before 2014, we didn't know whether one local government has twice more employees than needed, 3 times more employees, or is below what is the optimal number of employees in that local government. We are also today, all the employment in the healthcare sector is driven based on these standards. So today we know that we have excess number of people in the administration, but are seriously understaffed in terms of medical staff, doctors, nurses, and technicians. So based on this, the government has approved by the end of the year approximately 4,000 new jobs in the healthcare sector, but only medical staff. And we're continuing to cut back on the administration. So these are important changes that we've made since 2014. But now we need to we must, and I repeat, we must increase the efficiency and the transparency of public administration. And for that, as you know, I keep repeating myself, the answer to this is e-government, more electronic services. This is the answer for the efficiency, for the transparency, for the fight against corruption. And that is going to continue to be our focus in 2018, 2019. And the third pillar, extremely important for the citizens as well as for the businesses, the rule of law. Everything that needs to be done is predominantly driven by what we need to do under the chapter 23 and 24. And I can assure you that we understand that that's something that we've done the least in, because we were working on the first pillar and to the extent on the second pillar, and now the time has come to focus on this third one. And we have, in the past couple of months, have seen good progress on the implementations from the things in the chapter 23, and we'll continue to focus on the rule of law. And to make this as simple as possible, the rule of law actually means more efficient judiciary for our citizens and for our businesses. And so this was basically kind of the first thing that I wanted to emphasize in my today's speech. The second thing that I wanted to emphasize, and I will end with this so that we have more time for the panel discussion, is that I want to emphasize that although Serbia is really dedicated into creating conditions for attracting more investors in Serbia, our first and foremost priority, and I really wanted to emphasize this today, is actually in making sure that you are happy in Serbia and that you have the conditions to expand your business in Serbia. So we are dedicated to improving the after-sales service. So once we sell Serbia to you, that we have the after-sales service, that you're happy in Serbia and you want to expand your business in Serbia. And only then, our second priority is attracting new investors. So please, I want to assure you that you're not forgotten just by coming here, that the dialogue is important. That's why I'm here today. That's why Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Construction is here. That's why Minister of Labor is here. That's why Minister of Economy is here. We want to continue dialogue. We want to make sure that you're happy in Serbia, that you expand your business in Serbia. And with that, I end the speech. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for believing in Serbia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your speech and very kind words to FIC. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the panel discussion starts. Having said that, I kindly ask the moderator, Mr. Aleksandar Miladinovic, to join us and open the panel.
So good afternoon, everybody. This is the time for our panel, like every year. The introductory speeches were a good starting point, but we are now going to dig deeper and focus more on specific points in reference to this year's White Book. And I'm sure that in approximately next 45 minutes, it's a school class. We will use it in the best and most efficient possible way for both FIC members, for the government, and for the society as a whole. So it's time to invite our panelists to the stage. We have Ms. Ana Brnabić, the Prime Minister. Thank you for being here with us. Ms. Zorana Mihajlović, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Construction, Transport and Infrastructure. Thank you. Mr. Zoran Đorđević, Minister of Labor, Employment, Veteran and Social Affairs. Thank you for being here with us. And from the Foreign Investors Council team on the stage, we have Ms. Jana Mihailova, President of the FIC and Regional Director of Nestle Adriatics. We also have Ms. Ingeborg Othus, FIC Board Member and CEO of Telenor Serbia, and Mr. Vladislav Lalić, FIC Board Member and Regional Property and Expansion Manager of IKEA Serbia. So here are the panelists for today's discussion. And now that we have met them, there is just one final remark before we start this fruitful discussion. All of you have the chance to participate in the panel this year as last year. Please use the phone number that you will see on the screen. The screen will show you the number 063-857-4234. So you can text your messages with questions and remarks, and your contribution would be highly appreciated. Fellow journalists will also have the opportunity to ask questions after we finish this panel in about 45 minutes. The press corner is on your right-hand side, and you can use it to ask all the questions that you want to know, inspired with this great discussion that we're going to have. So I would like Ms. Mihailova to help me open this one. The scorecard of White Book shows 33% of progress. It's slightly less than last year, but it's still 1/3 of a positive grade. What's your prevailing impression?
I would think very fast. I think 33% is a progress. This is our current capacity. By the way, it's very stable in the last few years. Percentage is 33, maybe low, but an absolute number is impressive, because over 150 different recommendations has been discussed by private business and by the government to be able to accomplish certain growth. But I should say that we target for more, which is, I think, is very obvious, and I think we are capable in this dialogue to get more. And that's why we launched last year the task force, which for sure is targeting to accelerate.
Thank you very much, and thank you for setting the pace of the discussion. We are going to be very efficient, just as the White Book requests. Ms. Brnabić, as the leader of the government team, can you be satisfied with the score?
Well, firstly, I think that the government can never really afford to be satisfied with any of the scores. There's always room for improvement, and we can do better, and we need to do better for Serbia, because Serbia did waste a whole lot of time, and we need to increase the pace of reforms. On the positive side, in terms of the macroeconomic stability and fiscal consolidation, the biggest part of the work and the most difficult part of the work has been already done in the past 3 years, thanks to my predecessor and thanks to the government before this government. So we now really just need to control this, keep fiscal discipline, and we can now basically build on this foundation. So it really is our fault if we do not have better progress in the years to come.
Thank you for using the metaphor build on this foundation, because that's exactly the first chapter of this White Book that we're going to analyze deeper. Mr. Lalić, can you help me understand, can you help us all understand the area of construction, land and development is a little bit controversial in this white book. It's on the top and it's on the bottom. There are parts with greatest progress and parts with least progress. What are those, and what should we look for in the future?
Actually, I have to be honest, I have to be very positive because IKEA opened this year, so it's in a way I have the pleasure of talking something which has shown quite a big progress. And I fully agree with you. I think that the progress that we made in the building permit aspect has been very good. I'm in IKEA, and I will talk a little bit here mixed, trying to be, of course, efficient as the pace of the discussion is like that. Because I think it's always good not only to talk about the recommendations that we have made, because it's a little bit not theoretical, but it can be a little bit blended with the concrete examples. The building permit, the number of the building permits issued, the procedure has shown much bigger improvement. IKEA has been one of the first bigger investors which have actually received electronic building permits, and of course this is contributing to a greater level of transparency, about a greater level of efficiency, predictability, and everything else. So I can absolutely praise the development. I think it's a very good sign for not only foreign investors, but investors in general. And I think this aspect has shown, concretely talking about the building permits, very good progress.
Thank you, and I think Ms. Mihailovic is there to give us more details on this. On the result is good. But how and when can we expect the reforms to spread into other sectors, like other real estate topics like restitution, cadastral mortgages? You usually set milestone dates. Do you do that for this area as well?
The toughest question for me. First of all, hello to everybody. As a member of the government, I will continue in Serbian language, but there are so many things that we have to do and speed up of our process. Prema tome, drage dame I gospodo, dobar dan. Mislim da je pitanje izdavanja građevinskih dozvola zaista sjajan rezultat za Srbiju, ali ono što smo rekli da je kontroverzno u samoj beloj knjizi, s čim se ja potpuno slažem, to jeste pitanje zakona o konverziji. Pretpostavljam da se i članovi Saveta stranih investitora slažu sa tim i naravno pitanje restitucije. I to je ono što nas čeka u narednom periodu, na čemu moramo više da radimo, bez obzira na to što je zakon recimo o konverziji donet, bez obzira što od prošlog našeg sastanka ovde, koji smo imali prošle godine, u odnosu na današnji dan možemo reći da je konverzija donela i prihode i državi i fondu za restituciju i da se taj proces poboljšava, ali to svakako nije dovoljno. I naravno pitanje restitucije, gde bih ja rekla da jedna isprobana stvar jeste zajednički rad Ministarstva finansija, pravde, građevine i mislim da samo na taj način možemo da se pozabavimo i pitanjem restitucije. Ne znam koliko svi članovi Saveta stranih investitora znaju, to je danas predsjednica Saveta rekla, mi smo u ovoj godini formirali zajedničku radnu grupu u vladi Srbije. Predsjednik Vučić je bio prethodno predsjednik te grupe, sada je to predsjednica vlada Ana Brnabić i mislim da smo izdvojili određene oblasti na kojima ćemo zajedno raditi od poreza pa sve nadalje naravno do građevinarstva. Ono što mislim da je budućnost, o čemu ćemo možda posle pričati, jeste takođe i katastar, kao i planovi i to je ono što će sigurno da bude u 2018. godini implementirano. To znači konačno ćemo oblast građevinarstva potpuno nekako zatvoriti i reći evo to je deo gde smo mi, nadam se, gotovo u prvih 10 u svetu u svakoj od ovih oblasti.
Digitalization is exactly the next question, and it's a kind of synonym for this government from its very beginning. Ms. Ovtkus, how near or far is Serbia from actually becoming a fully digitalized e-business economy?
I guess it's fair to say that we are definitely not a fully digitalized society as of yet. But if you just look 1 year back, we have had amazing progress when it comes to the focus of digitalization. We heard the Prime Minister today. We have also heard her expose. I think the whole Serbia is really waking up to see how important this is. It's really creating growth. It's changing business models. And it's making the existing business model more efficient. So that's also why in FIC we formed a new committee this year. So this is one of the youngest babies, the Digital and E-commerce Committee. And it's very nice then to see that we already see great progress here. I guess I need to start with the e-commerce part. we have a law now, a law of electronic documents, electronic identification, and trust services for e-commerce. That has been adopted. Now it's all about then making sure it's fully implemented with all the necessary bylaws. This is then making it much more, has a much more flexible ID, for example, and it's making it, we have then the basis we need to move forward here. Then the e-government was mentioned several times today. This is, of course, the way to digitalize the communication between both citizens, but also the legal entities and the public administration, making life easier and more transparent and more efficient. Here we also have a law, this has not been adopted yet, but it's in progress, law of e-government. And we're looking forward to see the progress on that one. And I think finally also let's acknowledge education, because now it's mandatory to include coding from the 5th grade. And I'm lucky to be in an industry where we are utilizing a lot of Serbian talent in the technology field. And then to see that we are really looking after the new generations and making sure that we are continuing to produce the talent from Serbia, that is very, very promising. But of course, when I'm saying that we are not digital yet, we have to keep the focus. And that means, I think first and foremost, when we have the laws, we have to implement them. We have to get the laws to work for us. We also would like to see that all the tax payments, all the public fees can be paid without any electronic paper burden. That was also mentioned earlier today. I think it's just kind of keeping the focus on making the plans and the projects into actions. That is the key thing we need to follow now going forward.
Thank you. Ms. Brnobic, digitalization is obviously one of the government's priorities. You introduced it yourself in your expose. How do proposals that you hear from FIC members fit into your plan? What are the milestones for the next 6 months that you can give us in this process? And is the issue of implementation actually on the table above all other principles?
I think we will see a very, very fast progress with digitalization in Serbia. I think we have all the potentials, and because we are now kind of because we are unfortunately 10 to 15 years late with digitalization, we can learn, and we are learning from everyone else, so we can leapfrog, and we do not have to waste time on trial and error as some countries did. So the focus in the next 6 months is certainly now we have the law on electronic document. We need to develop and adopt the bylaws. It's extremely important not to delay that process, and then start the implementation of the law. Then we have to adopt as the government the draft law on e-government, which I think will happen in the next few weeks, and send it to the parliament for adoption. Hopefully by the end of the year we'll have this law on e-government as well, and with that we will have the legal framework to continue with digitalization and e-government. Then obviously I said for me the three key things that we need to finalize next year is one is electronic archiving, so that you and the government as well and all the local governments do not really have to waste any more money into archiving space. I think the Agency for Business Registries, APR, has the archive of more than 30 kilometers long. So we need to build more space for papers in 2018. So archiving, electronic archiving next year, it will save a whole lot of money to the government and to the businesses. The electronic payments, and again, electronic payment is nothing new besides for paying the government services, the public services. So I think, and I can announce today, that by the end of November, we will have first electronic payment for the government services. So that job is going to be done. And then the electronic signatures. something that will make all of our lives easier. We have these electronic signatures with CDs and stuff, but that's not really an electronic signature, so we have to finish that in 2018 as well. And then when we have that, we're just kind of, again, building on one service after another, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Ms. Mikhailova, help us get us back to one of more traditional issues. It's the issue of labor law. It's the issue that comes up in Serbia every couple of years. Next year is another one of that kind. What do foreign investors expect from the labor law next year?
First of all, I will say that I hope at a certain moment digitalization will be a very common and basic thing. The same as labor legislation is just a tool, and hopefully this tool will allow us, I would say, to run or in all the other areas much more efficiently. And now, as you're saying, to the traditional subject of labor, very important subject for whomever is coming to invest in this country. And let me start, first of all, stating that Foreign Investors Council members are among the best employers in the market. We offer very good conditions to the people, but it's not only about offering good conditions to the people. We are paying all taxes, we are obeying all the local legislation, all the rules. It's not only that. Our companies, member companies are doing extra mile because we're taking a lot of, and we are offering our people, and not only our people, a lot of trainings, and thus contributing to making Serbian labor force much more solid, professional, and developed. On top, we do a big job in employing youth, offering training, internships, and I think this is valuable as well because this is preparing young people to enter the sectors which they might be interested in but are not yet ready to join right after their education. But now, coming to the labor legislation, there was a very good big step done. It's a sensitive always topic. A lot of counterparts would like to be involved in the discussion, which is fair. We would like to, and I would like to highlight the big step and big progress that has been happening in 2014. Since then, not many things has been evolving, and now we expect that next step will be done. And there are certain expectations. First of all, it's about further modernization of the labor legislation. What it will give, it will make it clear, simple, understandable. It's about part of simplification, which is expected for sure because now even salary calculation is extremely, extremely complex. And some of the rules which exist in the legislation, they're just obsolete. Yet there is another subject of staff leasing. Today, staff leasing legislation is completely missing, which is incorrect, because in EU regulation you have it. And it defines this absence of this legislation will allow to have a fair interaction between the company, agency, and the employee. And we hope the progress will be done in this area as well. So we have a high expectation. It is important to make it transparent, consistent, modern, and to fill in certain gaps that exist. But what is more important, it's implementation of the legislation, that each and every member, or not a member, each and every participant of the market somehow follows the same rule. And we hope that the government will support to ensure that this playfield is really leveled. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Mr. Georgievich, you've heard that the expectations are high. So can the government live up to those expectations? What would be the most important changes in the new labor law? And can we do you expect, again, campaigns in front of the National Assembly with tents and protests every day? Are you ready for that?
Pa, ako bi mogli da se vratimo u 2014. godinu i u hrabru odluku tadašnjeg predsjednika vlade koji je i bio pod kritikama za donošenje novog zakona o radu, a ispostavilo se da donošenje upravo tog zakona je pokrenulo Srbiju, pokrenulo mnoštvo stvari i mi danas ovdje možemo sa zadovoljstvom da pričamo o uspesima koje ima ova vlada i kad je u pitanju zapošljavanje i rad. Svakako nije bitan samo zakon o radu, planira Ministarstvo rada i to jeste u akcionom planu izmena zakona o radu, ali i niz nekih drugih zakona, zakon o štrajku i izmena i dopuna mnogo drugih zakona koji trebaju u celini da doprinesu poboljšanju atmosfere i mogućnosti za strano investiranje u Srbiji da bude na jednom boljem nivou. Svakako, mislim da u slučaju kada pričamo danas o stranim investitorima, o investicijama, o budućnosti, mi moramo da se vratimo korak unazad i da razmišljamo o jednoj drugoj stvari, a to su radnici. Jer bez radnika danas nema ništa. Stvarajući uslove za njih, obraćajući pažnju na njih, baveći se radnicima, ulažući u radnike, gledajući sada kao vlada da radimo prekvalifikacije, da ulažemo u obrazovanje, u dualno obrazovanje, mi u stvari želimo da kreiramo budućnost. Želimo da imamo jednu potpuno drugačiju i modernu Srbiju koja će biti na jednim potpuno drugačijim osnovama i koja će da umeti da predvidi šta je njoj to potrebno, da predvidi gde su potrebni koji radnici, da ima plan gde želi koje investicije, ali da to znaju i strani investitori koji kad budu dolazili u Srbiju, a i ovi koji su ovde, da znaju da mogu da se oslone na radnike koji su marljivi, vredni, obrazovani i kojih ima. To je ono što je najbitnije. I mi to želimo da promenimo. Mi radnike imamo, oni su marljivi, vredni, ali želimo njima da posvetimo više pažnje. Zadovoljni radnici, neće biti ni protesta, neće biti ni potrebe za bilo kakvim predviđanjem nekih loših stvari, već ćemo samo razmišljati o tome kako i na koji način da privučemo strane investitore, a mislim da i ovi koji posluju ovde biće dosta zadovoljniji. Mi imamo ovde i u razgovoru sa njima, a i u razgovoru sa domaćim poslodavcima probleme koje moramo da rešavamo. Oni se tiču mnogo zakona, ali jednog našeg ličnog odnosa prema radu. I mi to želimo da promenimo. Takođe, ministarstvo, pošto u svojoj nadležnosti ima inspekciju rada, ona će u narednom periodu intenzivno da se bavi protiv rada na crno. I gledat će da se to smanji, jer to u stvari povećava konkurentnost i ljudima koji posluju u Srbiji, koji većinom posluju, u velikoj većini posluje legalno, omogućava da budu konkurentni, ne samo ovde, već i u svetu. I to je jedan od prioriteta ministarstva. Drugi prioritet koji jeste uklapa se u projekciju i iz ekspozea naše predsjednice vlade, a to jesu socijalne karte i na neki način digitalizacija i uspeh digitalizacije koji bude bio, mi ćemo kao plod da koristimo za izradu socijalnih karata, čiji rezultat i korišćenje socijalnih karata će pružiti Srbiji i vladi Srbije, ali i stranim investitorima i domaćim investitorima, ali i radnicima jednu potpuno drugačiju viziju i sigurnost rada ovde u Srbiji.
Mr. Đorđević, Ms. Mihajlova opened just another interesting issue. It's the issue of staff leasing. What's your specific attitude on that question? Do you see staff leasing as the modern slavery, as the trade unions sometimes describe it, or is it a modern way of doing business as FIC members describe?
Počeo sam da pričam o mnoštvu zakona koje Srbija želi da i nove donese, ali ove stare da unapredi. Jedan od njih jeste svakako i zakon o leasingu i zakon o radu stranaca i svemu onome što mi pričamo i sa stranim investitorima što znamo da je problem. I mi želimo to da rešimo. Takođe i uvođenje i sezonskih vaučera, to su sve načini kako može Srbija da jednog dana bude potpuno jedna moderna zemlja koja će obratiti pažnju na svoje radnike, na strane investitore i da bude poželjna, da bude investicija sve više i više.
Thank you. Ms. Oxford, the area of changes of law, especially in tax regulation part, is often an issue in white books. What do you expect from the government in this area? What kind of dynamics of changes would you see as the positive one?
I think you will hear, say, year over year, FIC stating that what we expect is predictability and transparency. But in this specific area, what we need is, of course, to make sure that we are keeping modernizing the public services. I think it was very welcome today to hear that there is a plan now to reform the tax administration. I'm 100% sure that that's really what this audience. We look forward to discuss that on next year's White Book panel. Another thing is we need to make sure there is a very strict rule in place that when we are changing laws, we do have public consultation. This is one way of course, increasing the quality of the laws and making sure they are easy to implement or possible to implement, and is also increasing predictability from the investor's point of view. And then also the final area is that we need to make sure that whatever law we have in place, it's implemented in a consistent way. And in consistent, then I mean that whatever industry, you are being treated the same as your competitors, that you will get the same answer and interpretation on Wednesday as you got on Monday, and that you will get the same interpretation regardless of what part of the public administration you are in contact with.
Thank
and
you.
I think it's fair to say that we heard e-government is a tool to help. Digitalization helps. We surely have often mentioned the e-construction permit as a good example. Not only is it providing better service for everybody, but it's making the public services then more efficient. And the FIC, we are very much committed to do our part to support the implementation of e-government, because we see that is the way to speed up in this area.
Thank you very much. I would also like to thank everyone for sending your questions, and now it's a good time to use one of your questions for this tax administration and taxing system in Serbia. It's for Prime Minister Brnabić. We have a question from the audience. You, in your introductory speech, you mentioned the decrease of taxes. Can we have more data? Can we have some specific numbers that you can give us now? And when can we expect the decrease of tax burden on salaries and on the general taxation system?
Well, as I said, we are thinking about increasing the tax-free part of the income, neoporezivi deo dohotka, and we will obviously have to include this as a cost to the budget in the next year's budget. So we're finalizing the budget by the end of November, and that's where we are going to announce this. So this will be, I think, perhaps not that significant relief to the employers, but will be not insignificant either. And it will be also a good signal for the employers that we are thinking in terms of relieving the tax burdens. And then next year we will see how this reflects on, firstly, this shadow economy, whether more people are being basically registered, and to what kind of effect it has on the fiscal stability of the country and the budget. And then, if it has positive effects, we will then consider additional tax reliefs on the income. Thank you.
Mr. Olic, you sounded very proud at the beginning of today's panel.
I still am proud.
Yeah, when you said that you started a business this year in Serbia. So give us your experience. How large is a portion that investor needs to calculate in the investment regarding transport in Serbia? That's a very important part for your business.
Definitely. I mean, it's a good question, and I think we should not only look. In every business, of course, this calculation varies a lot, and it means that it varies from a different sector to sector, but transport has its own share. I would prefer that we refer to the quality of service here rather than the pure cost, because, of course, the quality of the service is the one that determines on the end the price of something. And here I have to say that if I just look into recommendations in this area, also shown quite a big improvement in that respect. We had, on behalf of FIC, 20 recommendations, out of which 18 have shown significant and good progress, which I think is really good. And for every investor, infrastructure is important, and I think Serbia has shown very good results in respect to that during the past period. In road infrastructure, where we have underway Corridor 10, 11 constructions, E80, Pirot-Dimitrovgrad, then Obrenovac, Surčin, Obrenovac, Preljina, all these big projects underway. Then the signing of the finance agreement for the railway between Belgrade and Budapest for the upgrade, so that basically the trains could go with a speed of up to 200 kilometers. And then, of course, we all know from the media the good development with the airport of Belgrade, which is showing a 10% increase with the number of passengers. And also in Niš, you have The airport, which was more or less 3-4 years ago, having 3,000-4,000 passengers, today is on the level of 183 passengers, if I'm not wrong. So these are all very good developments, and all these developments, I think, reflect a positive side. Then, of course, still to be proud, but not to be too positive. I think it's important to know that these projects should continue in increasing the capacity and the quality of the infrastructure. I would also refer here that it's important to do the restructuring of the public companies, especially the National Road Administration, and also what FIC has emphasized on several occasions, the urge to have public-private partnerships where private companies will be more involved in the certain infrastructure works and be more active, both referring to railway and road.
Thank you. Ms. Mihailovic, we've heard that efficient management is also very important in this area, and the results are there, but there's more and still more can be done. So have you completely given up the idea to unite the companies, Putevi and Koridori Serbia, in terms of efficient management? And also, will there be any changes in the toll collection? That was also one of the ideas that was launched from your side.
Prvo zahvaljujem se gospodinu Laliću na svemu onome što je rekao o infrastrukturi, pošto on nije govorio o onim stvarima koji su ispred nas u infrastrukturi. Moja je i obaveza i dužnost da kažem šta je ono što moramo da popravimo kada govorimo o infrastrukturi, koja svakako jeste na boljem nivou nego što je bila. I ono što stoji ispred nas, a što je jako važno za Savez stranih investitora, pre nego što odgovorim na vaše pitanje, jeste pitanje cena prevoza, pogotovo kada govorimo o kargu, pitanje zadržavanja robe na granicama. To je sve ono što stoji ispred Ministarstva saobraćaja u narednom periodu, što mora da se reši, kako prosto ne bismo imali situaciju da nas investitori prosto zaobilaze i odlaze drugim koridorima umesto onim koje mi radimo. Dakle, to je ono što znam da jeste problem svima i prosto želim da kažem da se i tekako time bavimo, razgovaramo sa svim državama, pravimo jedinstvene granične prelaze, imaćemo ih sa Makedonijom, Bosnom i Hercegovinom, menjamo sporazume sa zemljama oko nas i mislim da je to jako važno jer, kako kažu, novac je kukavica, prema tome ne želimo rizik i svesni smo toga da investitori ne žele rizike i da žele nižu cenu i da naravno žele bolji kvalitet usluge i nikakva kašnjenja. Što se tiče reformisanja preduzeća i Puteva Srbije i Železnica Srbije, svaki od ovih rezultata koje gospodin Lalić pomenuo, jer to jesu rezultati i ovo što ja sada govorim u stvari treba da predstavlja posledicu tog reformisanja. Železnica ide u dobrom smeru, ne smemo da stanemo i zato je moje mišljenje da mi svakako treba da nastavimo naš aranžman sa Međunarodnim monetarnim fondom jer smo zajednički uspeli da napravimo određene korake u železnici. Železnica Srbije će imati u naredne 3 godine sigurno kompletan koridor 10 kojim će se prosečnom brzinom ići između 110 do 150 km na sat, što sada nije slučaj i to svi vrlo dobro znaju. A što se tiče Puteva Srbije, onog trenutka kada se završi koridor 10, tog trenutka prestaje potreba za postojanjem kompanije koridori. Znači, Putevi Srbije ostaju u ovom smislu s tim što će biti naravno reformisani da budu efikasniji jer se pre svega bave održavanjem putne mreže. Ali ono što je velika novost za Puteve Srbije jeste da posle 90. godine, prvi put ove godine se prave javni pozivi i tenderi za održavanje puteva. Nikada do sada, dakle od 90. godine do 2017. godine, poslovi održavanja su se pravili na bazi ugovora iz 92. godine, dodeljivali su se regionalno po Srbiji i dakle vi niste imali nikakvu mogućnost čak ni da menjate nekoga ko će vršiti održavanje puteva. Danas u Srbiji imamo završetak velikog javnog poziva i tendera za 3000 km puta u Srbiji gde će se kroz javni poziv biti određene kompanije koje će u naredne 3 godine raditi letnje i zimsko održavanje. Mislim da je to važno zbog toga što će cena tog održavanja biti do 30% niža nego što je bila kada se dodeljivalo. Dakle, krenuli smo, nadam se sledeće godine kada budem bila ovde, da ću moći da se pohvalim time da se cela mreža održava kroz javne pozive i da mi možemo da kažemo da imamo sada već nekih 400-500 km recimo železničke mreže na 150 km na sat.
Thank you very much for that information. Before we move to final conclusions, I will just take another question from the audience, and it's a nice way to tie this discussion into last year's discussion. It's the question for Prime Minister Brnabić. One of the FIC members reminds us all that Minister Knežević last year said that the obligatory membership in the Chamber of Commerce is going to be considered and reconsidered again at the end of this year. Is it going to happen, and what's your attitude? It's more or less the yes-no question, so just keep in mind the time. Thank you.
Well, the obligatory membership of the Serbian Chamber of Commerce is one of the models that we've chosen from other countries in Europe and all over the world. I mean, there are countries that do not have obligatory membership, and there are countries that do, and that was the model that was chosen. So I think that from what I know right now, we will proceed with the obligatory membership of the Serbian Chamber of Commerce. But of course, with the obligatory membership, there come kind of the obligatory responsibilities and the results that the Serbian Chamber of Commerce needs to deliver for all the businesses in Serbia. From what I would be more interested in exactly how much the membership fee is, how is it calculated, and again whether it's predictable and stable. So these would be my questions for the Serbian Chamber of Commerce. And again, I think it was the educated decision based on some analysis of what could work best. And I understand that there are many businesses in Serbia, foreign investors as well as local investors and SMEs who are not happy because of that. But let's just keep the membership small and reasonable, and let's keep it predictable. And also for you as members, ask for the results. I think that's really what I can say.
Thank you very much for that answer. Ms. Brnabić, can you just now help us leave this discussion with a vision? Can you share us your vision of Serbia until the next White Book?
There's so many things that all of us are working on, and I hope we implement at least 40% of the things that we are working on. I mean, there are still some tough reforms to be done. One of these is the salary system law and the reforms in the salary systems in the public administration. Also, one of the big ones is the social security and social security payments. I mean, we as the country are allocating a lot of funds, very considerable funds for the social security. But it's not targeted well. If we can utilize digitalization and e-government, as Minister Đorđević is trying to do, to reform the social security contributions and target them better, we could actually provide much more to the people who actually need it without any additional allocations from the budget. So that is certainly something that, I want us to go towards a society in the private sector where the best are rewarded. And not everyone is treated equally, because not everyone has equal contribution. And in terms of the social contributions, where we give the most to those who most need it, and not to everyone. In terms of businesses, as I said, I think that the key reforms have been done. The most difficult, the most unpopular measures have been done by the previous government. We now need to, and so we have, in spite of the fiscal consolidation measures, very difficult fiscal consolidation measures, we've achieved growth. So we now have to build on this in order to ensure that this growth is more dynamic and that it's more sustainable. And we cannot have more dynamic and more sustainable growth without serious reform of the education system and serious step towards digitalization. And that's the key. If we miss this chance, we missed it. And we're still going to have to struggle for for the 1%, 2% growth. We still have to compete with all the countries in the region for some of the investments that do not have value added quality to it. So we have to invest in the reform of education and digitalization so that as a society, and I'll end with this is my vision, we are currently investment-driven economy, and that's good for now. We have to make a step towards innovation-driven economy to ensure sustainable and dynamic growth. And the time to act is now.
Thank you. And Ms. Mihailova, what is the big step that will help Serbia not to miss this chance that the Prime Minister has been talking about?
You said the most important word. I think there are major expectations on acceleration. And I think acceleration of the development, acceleration of reform is the key. But what is important, we are talking now about the publication and accomplishment of this white book. But what is great, how many things you already mentioned, and we know that the working group, FIC government task force are working to implement very important reforms in tax area, in labor, difficult one as well, but they are working now. And what I personally, and I'm sure that next year we will be able to achieve high results on the progress made. This means acceleration of the reforms, because personally I do believe that Serbia and we together can accomplish this. And what I really respect, that we are talking about the reforms which will boost the economy today. And the reforms which will boost the economy today will give resources for the vision you are talking about, investing in things which matters for the society and for the long-term sustainable competitiveness of Serbia, like healthcare, education, and other stuff. And we would like to contribute to make this country much more long-term competitive and powerful.
Thank you for these nice words for the end. This concludes the presentation of this year's White Book. The copies of the report they're there for you in front of Ivo Andrić Hall. You can find them there. And you can also continue discussing the great ideas that we've heard today from our great panelists. Thank you all for participating, and thank you for your efficiency and time management. It is now the time also for journalists. You can ask your questions in the media corner on the right-hand side. Thank you all.